Hello and welcome to the Captain's Table, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Paul Berserker01 Batman Shelley, your humble host and space bartender at the Astropub, and your facilitator here at the Captain's Table. What is the Captain's Table? It's a podcast, video cast, I guess, thing where I bring people from all over the Star Citizen community to talk about Star Citizen news, sometimes specific topics. Sometimes we do a little, reaction. Sometimes we do a little bit of theory crafting. Just kind of get a little bit of everything. And with me today, I have Algared and Croncy, and I'll let them introduce themselves in a moment. But I will say that this whole thing is also to let you know that the Crux Cup is back. And many of you are going, the heck is the Crux Cup? And the answer is one of the oldest races in Star Citizen. Actually, one of the older races, or even older than Daymar, I believe.
It's older than Daymar.
Yeah. So I'll let Al and Croncy kind of introduce themselves, and I'll let them kind of talk a little bit about Crux Cup and all those sorts of things. So Al, who are you? What do you do in Star Citizen, and where can they find you?
Well, I'm commonly known as Crazy Al because of my penchant to buying ships. I'm also the personification of Old Man Hurston, as you can tell by this impersonation here of Jimmy Stewart. But I'm a member of the Info Runners, and so you'll often see us. Execute and I have been streaming on Tuesdays and Fridays and having a bit of fun with that, but also on our Fix My Fleet episodes as well. And I'm also a member of Southern Cross Alliance, who are the hosts of the Crux Cup.
Awesome. He's also the millionth backer and 2 millionth backer, I believe, or not millionth backer, the millionth dollar. No.
Yeah, the 100 million, 150 million, 200 million. Yeah.
Yeah. The 100 million, 150 million, and 200 millionth dollar purchased was Al. So
and then Sandy told me to stop.
Yeah. Croncy, who are you? What do you do in Star Citizen, and where can they find you?
I am Croncy. I do a bunch of streaming on Twitch at twitch.tv/Croncy. And this year I get the privilege of commentating along with Henkin SC the Crux Cup, which super excited for.
Awesome. Now, Al, Croncy, feel free to put us. What is the Crux Cup?
Okay. Well, the Crux Cup originally started off as the Millennial Race. So, in our prehistory lore, as the millennium of the UEE was coming about, the Earth decided they needed something to unify the Empire and show how awesome Earth was, because Terra was being, a bunch of terrorists saying how awesome they were. And so they decided to have this race around Earth or a series of races around Earth as a unifying fact to show how the heroes of the UEE had worked and show that things were good. And that was generally the original thing. It went out of favour, and in our law, the SCA decided at one point, hey, this could be a moneymaker for us because, we like to gamble. And so they created that. And so the idea of a Crux Cup was a series of races, an open race for anyone. But the favourite was always the Aurora Classic, which was you can have any ship in this race, but it has to be an Aurora. And they were run on tracks in our law that were very similar to the tracks of Ellis, but they were built above Earth. But as we were using the old Arena Commander to run those races, we were constantly had issues with stability, crashes, game crashes, people dropping out. And it just became impossible for us to keep running. And so we took a hiatus until such a time as we were able to come back. We got tired of waiting for Arena Commander, and we'd also been always looking at the time when we could go into game and be actually running it in the PU. And so recently it came to the point where Echo decided, hey, I'm going to work out the track. It looks pretty stable. And so we have the Ahumani track that has been developed in the wonderful skies above Orison.
Croncy, why don't you tell us a little bit about what should people expect for Southern Cross or for the Crux Cup for today if they watch it or participate in it?
So, for the purposes of those are wondering how the actual event sort of goes, there's 3 divisions to the Crux Cup. You've got the A Crux division, the Open division, and the Aurora division. The A Crux is sort of the hyper competitive, bring your fastest ship and go, and actually requires qualifiers as well. The Open division, any ship. The Aurora division, only Auroras. Pretty self-explanatory.
And the Open division is like you could even take a reclaimer if you wanted. If it goes through a tunnel, you can take it.
We've been doing some time trials with some pretty crazy ships the last couple of weeks. And then so the way that it works is basically you've got an hour long to do as many laps as you possibly can. Within that hour, whoever has the highest laps wins within their division. So pretty simple in that sense. One of the coolest things about it, though, is that it uses a very sort of extensive rules set that you would actually find in real life races. So you've got to be courteous to anyone who's trying to pass you, that sort of thing. Yeah.
Awesome.
And that rule set is the brainchild of Gentleman Jez, who is also the titular head of the SCA. And Jez loves, like, even our first rules for the old Crux Cup, Jez was fundamental in writing those. But Jez, in his joy of gaming, likes those endurance races. And so it was always for Jez something that he wanted to do. I think Jez may have been the first person who actually talked about doing something like a Daymar rally, kind of a Dakar rally type idea with vehicles, even before the Daymar rally was even talked about. I don't know how accurate that is, but that's my memory at least. But it's way back in the dark ages. But so for Jez to be able to have an endurance race going, I think this is like awesome.
So this is we're expecting something more like NASCAR or Formula One in this case, or is it?
Yeah, exactly. Like pit stops are common. Like for example, in the A Crux division, there's pretty much no ship that can meet the sort of timeline requirements without having to make a pit stop every 3 or 4 laps. So that becomes a larger part of the race itself, and maximizing your fuel rather than just going all about time, which is very different to something like the Daymar rally, which is just go as fast as you can, but
get to point B. And that's different from the original Crux Cup, where it was just 3 or 4 laps of the Arena Commander races. So totally different. The other thing that's really nice is if you're not racing, but you actually manage to get in the server where the races are, there are some great viewing points. So if you're in the accommodation tower up on the roof, you've got a beautiful view of one of the tunnels which the races will be coming through as well. So
I may see if I can sneak on there and bring a ship there to serve some alcohol for people who are watching. So I mean, we'll see. Because that's the kind of thing I've been wanting to do for a long time with the Astropub, is like bring a ship down with a bar so that people can see it and then serve alcohol there, kind of thing. So we'll see. Possibly.
Yep. Now, I know one of the things that people have said is why, and I've had some of my friends have said, why the hell are you doing it on Orison? Orison sucks. It's got, it takes so long to get there, and the clouds are horrible. Now, one of the key reasons we chose Orison, or why Echo wanted Orison, A, because it looks awesome, but B, it's got a really large armistice zone, which makes the chance of people coming in to grief you by shooting you is significantly reduced, so you don't get that Daymar rally type problem they had a few years ago. So that's one aspect. But I haven't actually flown through the track, but I know, Croncy, you have, and you've been doing the time trials as well.
Yeah, the track itself. Yeah, the track itself is really good. So for those that are wondering, you're basically going between all of the different platforms. I don't remember the names of like any of them, but it's all of the actual like factory platforms.
I can remember Kaplan.
Yeah, Kaplan's one of them.
I can remember.
Empire, I think, is another one. The Empire shipyards, something like that. So.
But yeah, so you're going throughout all of those, and it's honestly a really, really amazing track because it actually takes you through the majority of Orison as you come around. So even with clouds off, you get some amazing views as you're traveling through. So it's great for viewers and racers alike.
Yeah. So the question I was going to ask you is you've done the races. People have said that the clouds make it really laggy and everything else. So how do you how have you found the lag? And I
Ah,
know,
it's fine.
and I know one of
been-
them is you turn the clouds off, but how have you
Yeah,
found
exactly. For the races, I would recommend turning off the clouds. But if you're not racing, then it's kind of fine. We will stay on the day just because when you do have that many people in that one area, that also tends to impact frames quite a bit. But should be still kind of nice. We had like 15 people there the other day, and it was okay. So
Nice. All right. Well, when is this going to happen? When is the Crux Cup?
3 weeks from today. Sorry, 2
March-
weeks. 2 weeks. 2 weeks from today.
March 21st, I believe.
March 21st. What time? So people can know for UTC time. So, because unfortunately, we've got a huge amount of time zone differences. Do you know when you're all planning on starting?
It should be starting like in 2 weeks' time, an hour from now, roughly, I believe.
Okay.
In fact,
so
I know that after we finish with Crux, after we finish Captain's Table, you're actually going to go and join in with the trials, aren't you? You're gonna try and get back to the trials and do a bit of streaming. If I remember hearing correctly.
Yeah, so we've got Echo Bit today, setting up some practices, the last practices before we do the qualifiers for A Crux next week. So you're going to do a little bit of practice there, and yeah.
So it's going to be you said the 20th?
I think it is the 20th, yeah.
Yes.
So we'll be 21st for
20th.
Australians, so that'll be the 20th for you. So 2 weeks time, which is also why Jez and Echo were unable.
I think it's actually 20th for Australians. Like I think it is.
So the 19th.
Our time Sunday. I'll double check.
Okay.
I thought it was been moved to a Sunday so that American,
a Sunday for us.
Friday. Sunday for us and
So
Saturday for the Americans.
So it's Saturday. So what I'm hearing is that it's Saturday at 7 p.m. EST, which should be about midnight UTC. So it's going to be like Sunday midnight, Saturday night ish for most of the Americans on the 19th. So.
And if they go to the Crux Cup Discord channel, I think that if they register, it actually gives them it actually converts the time to their local time, if I remember correctly.
I will have if you're watching this on YouTube, I will have the Discord link there on the very top comment, so you can see that and click there if you want to join in. So, I'm a big fan of anything that has to happen with with various people coming together in Star Citizen. I'm a big supporter of Daymar Rally. For those you don't know, you should be following Atmo Esports as well. They do a bunch of cool stuff. I've actually been a participant in a couple of their events. Daymar Rally's actually gotten into lore, so. It's always excited to see more stuff going on. So thank you all for coming on and talking about this. So make sure you're checking out Crux Cup. You'll have qualifiers next week, right? For the A Crux?
For the A Crux division, yep. And then the actual event itself is the week after.
Yep.
So yeah.
And one of the other things that's different from in the past with Crux Cup, this year you can go in teams of 2. Mm-hmm. And so I do know the prize because it is an endurance race, so you can have teams of 2 on your ship, I believe, so you can kind of swap pilots out. But that also means if you've got teams of 2, the prizes have actually been geared so that both members of the team will get the prizes. So,
nice.
And there are some pretty cool prizes in the prize pool, I believe.
Sounds awesome. Sounds excellent. All right. Well, that's the Crux Cup stuff. Let's talk a little bit more about Star Citizen, because specifically about the news and other things like this week. The big one is Rivers. And I'm going to be very, very clear on this discussion because I want to make sure we have discussed about this. But for those of you who don't know, we say rivers are being added in 3.17. And when I say that is a river, single river, is being added to Microtech next patch. But they also said they're going to be increasing, they're going to be spreading it out and making more of them as the next patches go by. So the question I have is your thoughts on rivers, and do you think this is actually an important part of Star Citizen? This is big or not? So, Croncy, why don't you start us off with that discussion?
So, I definitely think it's a big part of actually making the environments feel real. Mm-hmm. That, along with once we get like some fauna in, whether it's the Microtech Yeti or the Pyro Crabs, whatever it might be. I don't know. It feels better. It feels correct. When I go to Microtech right now and it's just woods, in the green zone, it's really weird. It's cool, but it's weird. So I'm very excited for rivers. And from the demo that they showed us on ISC, that lighting effect is crazy. I didn't expect that to be in.
So for a tier 0 kind of application, it's huge.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's also important
seems
to
like
remember.
They've really done the.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, it seems like they've really done their work. We got it took a year since we last heard about rivers, or almost exactly a year, but yeah, they've done a really good job, I think.
Yeah, it's also important to remember that this is tier 0. This is the first implementation. They've even said at ISC that they're going to be expanding it a little bit more. So, Algared, are rivers a good thing? Are people getting overhyped for this, or
No, people aren't getting hyped enough.
Okay, explain. Explain.
Well, they put in a river, but that is giving us the mark for any pathway. So it gets basically the tech in for roads. It gets which they even said in the ISC this time, which I felt great because that's something I know info runners have been saying for ages. It gets in the tech for being able to do lava flows. But another thing that's really key for, I think, Microtech is it also gives a way for them to bring in glaciers as a glacier movement and tie that into the river system as well. So that in itself gives a scope for so many more things. The way we are talking about the rivers and the way they've got the tech at the moment is once you've got your heights on your planet in and your height map, you can say, okay, I want a river in, and then you say click, and the river's in. So the tools they've got now are making the rivers be able to go in really quickly and easily. And then the artist goes in and touches up around the sides of the rivers and the things that are generating around the rivers. But rivers also means underwater exploration, underwater caves, underwater rivers. It means you've got hopefully down the track fishing, apart from the other harvestables. So harvestables that burn only plants, but down the track you'll have harvestables in the water or predators in the water. It gives you the ability to move, so it gives it a different level to move. As long as you've got a suit on, you'll be able to go into the river and go into the water and walk around. The vehicle being able to drive through the vehicles actually drive through the water on the land, but still be in the water was I thought was massive. The bikes being able to go above the rivers again, massive. But even though it's tier 0, we can see the areas they want to expand because as the vehicles were going, you didn't see the spray or the ripples on the water caused by the vehicles or the people going in. But it's coming. That's going to be the next. They'll iterate on that and keep iterating until it's awesome. So yeah, awesome. I think the rivers are huge, and it'll just add more depth to the world.
I'll add. I think I'm not as excited about rivers because they're cool. They're cool for fluff reasons, for looks and other things. But I will say that it's important to note that if rivers are in the state that they're in now, it does bode well for things like pyro, which are supposed to have lava flows and other things like that, and possibly roads and such. So it also gives us a kind of an indication that pyro is done or mostly done, and they're able to start kind of rolling in some of these other features they want to have into pyro. In terms of at least the actual planets and the actual surfaces. I will also say, I think rivers are more important in the sense that than maybe people may give, because it also gives them the ability to diversify the biomes more. With, we mentioned harvestables. There may be rare harvestables that exist just around rivers. Think about in the future when you have things like farming into the game. You're going to need water or other means to irrigate your crops to make sure that they work. It may not be on the like you may not have plow a field in a random place and where you are, but you may have to. You still need to have water or some way of feeding water to the plants. So having a river nearby is important. Algorithm crashed. So Algared comes back, but I think it's big for that because it's not just water; it's flowing water. So in theory, in the near future, as even said, you throw something on top of the water, it'll flow down the river rather than just staying there, which is big as well. So
Also, just at the very least, this one river has great implications for Star Citizen racing.
Yes. Yes. Why? I'm confused.
Because it's already a track. They've just made a racing track. Done.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
from the beginning.
There's our Dragonfly track.
Yeah. That's just like a straight line, or like a nice little curve. Yeah. That'll work. All right, we'll wait for Al to come back as well. But I will say the next question, and I'll leave it up to you, to Croncy for this one, is the other things they talked about is reputation on ISC. What are your thoughts on the whole reputation system and what they kind of described as what they want to do for 317 and beyond?
Yeah. So it sort of seemed like they're just making more progress on the way that they wanted reputation to work. So for those that haven't basically checked it out, there's going to be implications towards hostility with reputation. So if I get a bunch of positive reputation with, like, let's say, Ninetales, they won't be hostile towards me if I'm near them. But because of that, maybe the CDF will. That sort of thing. Yeah, no, it's fantastic. It's the natural progression of reputation. I think it's big implications towards anything and everything, like PvP related, or even not. Honestly, like, yeah, it's pretty sweet stuff. I didn't expect it to come this early. Honestly, I thought we would probably be waiting maybe another year and a half before that got introduced in. So yeah.
Yeah, I was surprised. I felt vindicated because about a year ago I made a video about how it's super important. Welcome back, Al.
There he is.
How reputation is super important for the future of the game, because it is like kind of the start of what do we call it? The start of lore, and like lore mattering, because knowing who's aligned with who is going to start to matter more and more. So you don't just take a mission that will then get you banned from a place you want to live in. And also other people wanting to kill you. And I think that's the big thing that people may not really take away, is that now that doing missions for one group is going to make you hostile to another group, and vice versa. So instead of having to just go, oh, well, I can just, the Skyrim syndrome, where you can be like the head of the Thieves Guild, the head of the Fighters Guild, the head of the Mages Guild, like even if like they're like conflicting, you can be the leaders of all of them, which is lame in my opinion. Like, there should be consequences. Your actions have consequences, and that's really what the reputation seems to be moving towards, which I like. Go ahead, Al. Your thoughts?
I really like that as well. It goes against what everyone says. Oh, I'm in Pyro, I can just shoot you up if I want. But hey, if I've got faction with the guys who are in control and you attack me, you're going to become, you might fire one shot. Yeah, okay, they'll let you off. But you attack me with gusto, you're going to become their enemy, and then that's basically what they were saying. So choices matter, and the faction you work with is going to have an impact. So I reckon that's another big, huge aspect that's going to be that will certainly come into play as we're looking at the reputation system down the track. And to go back on the value of the rivers, because I crashed the desktop at the time. One of the other values of rivers and roads is that it ties in, I think, with the nav mapping for NPCs.
Yeah.
So that will give them avenues where they'll go. So if you've got a road and you've got NPCs going from, say, Hurston to the mining centre, there'll be vehicles or other things going along that. That's avenue for pirates to attack and loot. It's got avenues for players to protect from the pirates who are trying to loot them. And so it adds different types of gameplay for people. And I think that's the key thing you want. You want gameplay that appeals to every different type of person who wants to play Star Citizen. So yeah.
Last one, which is a little obscure. The last two things we'll talk about is a little obscure. This one is, if people have been following the roadmap roundup, the latest addition to the roadmap was the dynamic mission system. Now, what was added to the roadmap was that the dynamic mission system is going to be built, and then later it'll hook up to Quanta. So it's going to be the dynamic mission system without Quanta. So We'll start with you, Alan. This one. What does that sound like to you? Does it sound good, bad? I mean, obviously it's not going to be done until later this year, and even it's a progress tracker, so it could be even longer. But the fact that it's now been added seems like they're working on it. So what does that spell out for us in kind of long
It
term?
sounded to me very much like what they were talking, what the law team talked about in the post that went up yesterday. Dave Haddock was talking about the way in which they've been focusing on things like the missions and things at the moment, but then that develops into being able to focus in on the law and draw the law in. And I
Nope.
Oh, no,
It's gone again.
it's gone again. Croncy, what are your thoughts?
So it's
gone
it was a
again.
very
No, he's back.
there he is. He's back.
I'm back.
Continue.
Go ahead.
So yeah, it gives that ability to get the tools working and then be able to flesh it out. So they're doing that. Dave Haddock's going to say they're doing that with the law. They're doing that with the economic system, and so I can say, and the quanta are tied in with I suppose both of those in how they react to you, which is tied into the rep system. It's also tied in with the economic system in terms of them doing missions as well. So I just think it's part of development. It doesn't bother me at all in that sense.
Are you excited for it at all? Or are you looking forward to it? Or is this one of those
I look
things where it's
forward to the
like,
time when we get Quanta working and
well, I mean,
adding more depth.
But this isn't even connected to Quanta. This is just the system. They even said it's not going to be added with Quanta in the first version. So
Yep. I think anything where they're developing things like the dynamic missions that ties in. Anything where they build those missions out is a good thing. My concern, at least watching ISC when they were talking about that type of thing and building out the dynamic missions so that you could be a person siding with Xeno threat. I'm not so sure I like that. I can understand where they're going with it, but it ties in with that idea. I said you want missions that cater for every single person, and currently, if you can side with Xenothreat in a Xenothreat mission, that goes against what Xenothreat is saying. They say you're either staying away if you support us, or you're an enemy. And so if you're rocking up to shoot the players who are doing the Xenothreat mission because hey, I'm siding with Xenothreat because I love Xenothreat, you're actually still risking Xenothreat shooting you because they've said if you support us, don't be in this area because we're here and anyone in this area is we view them as an enemy and so you've either got to change your law or but
could there be a counter
I understand
mission?
that. Sorry?
Maybe could there be a counter mission? Like instead of having just working with Xenothreat, like there's a different section of Xenothreat now where if you're supporting Xenothreat, you got to do this.
If they have a different zone where the players who are supporting Xenothreat could be doing another operation elsewhere, but you want those different missions you want the different missions. You want the missions that deal for those who like PvE co-op. You want missions for those who just like PvE. You want missions for those people who want PvE, PvP co-op. You want those that just want PvP. And at the moment, we've kind of got that, with the format of the way Xenothreat works. That's kind of your PvE co-op. Then you've got your Ninetales, which is kind of your PvE, PvP co-op. And then you've got Jumptown, which is straight PvP. So you've got those three divisions at the moment, and you want to expand on those, but you don't want to just make them all cardboard cutouts of Jumptown or Ninetales. If you do that, you're just catering for one part of a community, and I think to be really good for those dynamic missions, they need them to be catering for each faction of a community. And I know there'll be people who say, "Oh, if you don't like PvP, you should go back to Care Bear territory, and if you don't like this, you could go back to." But that's the wrong attitude to take. If you get people who are enjoying the game, if you've got people who are enjoying Xenothreat, they might get drawn into Ninetales because, hey, I really enjoyed that event and I enjoyed working with people. And then Ninetales like, oh, I really enjoyed that. And then on Jumpdown, they might then go do the so you got it working both ways. But so I think it's an error if you just over one type. But and I'm not saying CIG is saying they're doing that, but that's you want to have those missions that are spread out all over.
Croncy, your thoughts on the dynamic mission system being added or being worked on?
Seems good. Seems like it's going to make missions a lot less stale. Right now, every mission is a carbon copy of itself. Go kill X at Y. Go deliver X at Y. Yeah, it's going to be a lot better when they have even just like slight changes to them that are part of the dynamic system. So I'm happy for it. I'm excited for it.
But as the narration team said today on the video that I watched earlier, you know, they're working on those. They want to get. We're working on the tools to get those going, and then they're going to flesh them out. And so they're still not happy with the basic dynamic mission setup at the moment, but they're working on that, and then they'll flesh those out and add everything else in. So I think it's anything they do like that is a good thing.
I will say that I think the fact that they're working on the dynamic mission systems is going to be this is something that people need to brace for. The missions we have in game right now are going away. They may be copied a little bit, but the systems you have right now will be completely different when this is added. Even if this is just added without the quanta system, or if it's just like, because I think they say in the rule in the whole thing where the initial concept is to have, depending on the difficulty and the distance you have to go to complete this mission, will increase the amount of money that you get for it. So what'll happen is, I'm gathering, is things like box missions will go away from being just box missions to being box missions and cargo missions, and then those cargo missions, the further you go for those cargo missions, the more money you will get for them. So if you're hunting down a criminal, you may need to go to the other side of the system, or you may need to go to a different system entirely to get the most money, to try to get players to move around more. So don't get too comfortable. And the fact that they were doing the dynamic mission system now was surprising to me, because I didn't think they'd wait. I think they'd waited. I would have thought they would have waited until server meshing has been in for a while before moving over that direction. It seems like they're really trying to push a lot of stuff like at the same time, like the dynamic mission system, the events, the rivers, the reputation improvements, this all server meshing. All of them are kind of coming at it at once. And it
could be a very good thing or a very bad thing.
It'll be good and bad. It will be both at once. It's Schrodinger's game at that point. Depends on what side you're on.
It was interesting. The very first question the narration team got, which is related to missions, was, when are we going to get Tessa missions? So when are we going to see Tessa Bannister back with the, and see the missions that kind of have that thread? And that's what led Dave to say, well, yes, we want them. They are coming. But at the moment, we're working on the dynamic missions to get them working. And he basically talked about, the way I heard him talking seemed to be that the dynamic missions and the system they're going for was literally the tools for everything else. And so his desire and his goal is to get those missions with the story going through. And the same as you were saying with the box missions. The second cargo refractor comes in, that changes, I think, even doing cargo runs. So there's lots coming in that's going to change the world as we know it. It's the end of the world as we know it.
Yeah. Don't get comfortable, because by the end of this year, Star Citizen, again, between the beginning of 2021 and the end of 2021 was a very different game. And the difference between the beginning of 2022 and the end of 2022 is going to be a very different game, even if they don't have server meshing in. It'll be a completely different experience, just from the stuff they've already are planning on adding, and then the stuff that they may add in the near future. So
the difference is as significant as when we had hangars and we went to Arena Commander.
Yeah.
So where we could just walk around our hangars and get the PTV buggy was made purely so that people could drive down their long hangars when they had lots of ships, just so they could get to the firing range. So, but the difference is going to be as significant as that change from going from a hangar to Arena Commander. It'd be nice to have the hangars back. I agree.
Yeah. Last question we'll talk about before we get into the questions and answer session, which is I think kind of along a lot of these lines, which is the other major thing that was discussed. Why am I blanking on it? In the monthly report is Salvage. Now, for those of you who don't read this monthly report, because I know a lot of people don't read the monthly reports, they have a lot of discussions about working on salvage, and there's also a lot of discussions on the reverse of salvage being worked on at the same time, repair. So, with that in mind, should people still be expecting salvage when it's on the roadmap or even this year, knowing that they're working on this now? Do you think that it's people should be planning on seeing salvage this year, or is this just smoke and mirrors, CIG not saying anything kind of thing? Go ahead, Algared.
I think they're planning or hoping they'll be able to get it out this year. Certainly from the talk in terms of work. Sorry, the work they've done on the Vulture. They've actually said they've reworked the internal spaces and the textures and things to kind of bring them up to speed. So they've certainly got the Vulture at a point where they're I think they said out of white box. So that aspect, and I think that's going to be tied in with salvage. They want that they'll want that to come out when salvage comes out, rather than having the ship with nothing to do, like they've learnt from previous ships they've brought out. So I think they're hoping to have Tier 0 salvage in. And I think Tier 0's salvage is at least going to be hand tools, but also with the Vulture. So we'll see the Vulture doing its stuff.
I'll add another question to that as well. Do you think we will see Tier 0 repair at the same time?
I would love it if we had Tier 0 repair at the same time. What that would be, I have no idea, or how they'd do that. It might just be using the drones. The problem with Tier 0 repair is I haven't heard them saying they're working on the Vulcan. But there are two ships, unannounced ships that they've got working on. So the Vulcan could be one of those. So if they do bring out Tier 0 repair at the same time, maybe they'll bring out the Vulcan. Maybe at that point, that'll also mean all they'll work on the drones, so that the Carrack with its drones could actually do repair, or the Reclaimer with its drones could do repair or salvage. So I don't know, but I'd like to think that it'd come.
Will happen
because they are flip sides of the same coin. But yeah,
Croncy, your thoughts? Salvage, should we be expecting salvage this year? And also, do you think that if they get salvage this year, they'll also do repair at the same time?
So this seems, based on the monthly report, it seems that CIG are the most confident they've ever been about salvage. When you do read the monthly report, they do, in one section, I think it's in the features weapons section, they talk about the salvage tool and how that's coming along, and they actually mention the gameplay loop is progressing nicely, which usually means it's more or less on pace for what they expect it to release. Just on the Vulcan and drones, I don't expect that to come soon, because the drones are, I believe, on the not the roadmap, the progress tracker to begin later this year. So I don't think we're seeing the Vulcan come anytime soon. However, I do think that what they might do with salvage, just to give it a purpose right off the bat, is they might actually just make the salvage layers just do like a reverse repair type deal, just to get it off the ground. So cool, you've collected some materials, right click, change mode, chuck some repair into a vehicle for now.
Going from suck to blow.
Yeah,
exactly.
But yeah, it seems pretty cool. They even mentioned in the monthly report as well, that they're, as far as once you've sucked up all material from like one section of a whatever it might be, wing, they were talking about, what we're going to be doing is we're actually making it so that you get like this little error to say like, hey, there's nothing left or whatever. So they're basically, sounds like they're at the tail end of it now. So
yeah.
I
I will say, anybody who's concerned about salvage not making it, like I'm still fairly certain that salvage is going to get pushed back, but pushed back to like September. And I could be entirely wrong, because the latest monthly report, which again is from February, shows that they are very far along on salvage. There's still some issues they're having with soft body deformation, soft body physics deformation, which they've been working on. They mentioned there, but they do mention repair, like exclusively that they're working on the repair tools. There's other things. So
yeah,
go ahead.
I was going to say the thing that stuck out for me was the fact that they seem to be very confident. Like sometimes in a monthly report, they say we're doing this. You know, we've been working on this. We're working on this. But they don't. You don't get that. Yeah, it's you know, we've got this. We're working on it. The language sounded different.
Yeah, here's the details.
Yeah, the details on the language that gave you that sense of it is near.
Yeah, and I'm going to go on my soapbox here for a moment, which is like you need to read the monthly reports. They're required readings if you want to follow Star Citizen, because they do talk so much about what they're doing on a micro scale, on top of the progress tracker and the release view and ISC.
Stop killing your content.
I want to kill my content because, I mean, if you don't want to read it, on whenever they come out on Thursdays, I do a live stream called Office Hours, and when they come out, I do a full read through.
You don't need to read the monthly report. All you need to do is watch Office Hours on Thursdays with Paul.
or watch.
That's the way you got to do it, Paul. That's the way you got to do it.
Or watch many other content creators, including Space Tomato, who does his own things. And Croncy, do you do full read throughs or?
Yeah, I've just started doing them actually. I did one for this monthly report. Yeah.
So
you've got you don't need to read the monthly reports because the community does it for you. The runners, AstroPub, Space Tomato, Croncy.
But yeah,
just to name a few.
So it's very important that that like you follow this along this, because it is very, like, a lot of detail, a lot of information comes out in those that they can't put into an ISC because ISC takes weeks to plan, and this is just some guy or some gal working on the team who are just doing a quick report of, hey, this is what we did for this sprint, this is what we did for this sprint, we're done here, boom, boom, boom. Like, very simple. I will say, if you're reading the monthly report, the engine team, I really hope you understand, like, game development.
Part of it.
Yeah. It's it's like deciphering the tomes of ancient lore. Like, you'll recognize some of those words. Pretty much.
It is a tough read at times, and it's always dense. Like the monthly report is probably the most dense, information-packed thing we get from CIG. People complain all the time, CIG are no longer
communicating,
transparent. But if you read the monthly report, man, they tell us so much that they're doing. It is ISC and Star Citizen Live are a microcosm of what we're told when you look at the insight, when you look at their monthly report.
Like, they literally tell you every single thing that every team has done in the past month, except maybe they'll be like, this ship is unannounced, but we've been working on it, and here's how much we've been working on it. Right?
For instance, there's an unannounced ship that's done.
Yeah,
they finished it. It's on damage states. It's in the same state as the whole A is, but it's unannounced. So that can tell you right now, there's probably a ship coming out either in a 3.16. Whatever patch, which is probably not coming, so probably coming in 3.17. You know?
My gut would be the ship will come with Invictus.
Yeah, well, that's 3.18, I think. But
if I had to pick a time when the new ship was coming, I'd say Invictus, because that's the next big event, and they seem to be fairly. The reports seem to indicate that the Scorpius was moving along quite nicely as well. So that was another ship.
Yeah, I think Scorpius was final art complete now, and it's moving on to damage states. I'm fairly sure.
Yeah.
I know. I read that they'd got the wings, working as well. So that. So you read the monthly reports, you get so much good stuff.
Okay, so chat's saying it should be, if it's in April, May, June, it should be in 3.17. I think it's in June, isn't it? June is
May.
It's in May.
May, June.
Yeah,
it's May. Okay, it's in May.
Start of June is usually Alien Week, so it should be.
Yeah, so it should be late of May. Okay.
Yeah.
There we go. That makes sense. Yeah, I got my times off because
3.7. Late May, someone's saying. So late May.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 3.18 should be end of June, early July. So yeah, okay, that makes sense. But yeah, that's it's important to read the monthly reports, and that's, I would say, if you are concerned about the Salvage coming out this year, I would suggest read this latest monthly report, and you'll get a lot of details about how Salvage is going to work from that, including, as Croncy pointed out, there was like a section where they have a full physics, a sound effect and visual change. So like if you're like hitting, you're like essentially like cutting open a section. As you finish cutting open a section, it'll kind of go and like change in its light, so you know that it's done, that the whole section has been consumed or been chopped.
Yep.
So you know, there you go. Yeah, I think that's it for the talking section. Thank you so much for joining us. We're going to be moving on to the question and answer session. So those of you who are watching us live, ask questions using the question system. And if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you're following Al and the Info Runners. You'll find Al, Croncy, and myself on Info Runners, and you'll find Croncy, push.tv/Croncy, just like it's spelled there, right? You do YouTube as well, or are you starting to, or?
Yeah, just started doing regular uploads on YouTube. So you can just find me by typing in Croncy. It will come up saying, "Did you mean currency?" So just ignore that.
And I think Info is streaming on YouTube, right? Not on Twitch, or is it on Twitch?
We do YouTube. So we've been streaming on YouTube. We may eventually go back to Twitch, but one of the things we've found is it's just a little bit easier to. We get to do the thumbnails, and
yeah,
you know, that's
thumbnails
one of the things
are nice.
That
Like X loves
really
his,
good on his thumbnails. So
he loves his thumbnails.
So you know we've got the thumbnails down pat. It just also works. We find it works nicely with our patrons being able to join in as the audience in the background. But eventually, you know, I think the plan is we will do Twitch. We'll go back across to Twitch. It's just easier to use the systems we've already got up and running and work on building that support. So
Info Runners is Tuesdays and Fridays, and Croncy, when do you stream? Do you stream every day, or?
Every day, but Saturdays and Tuesdays.
Okay. So Monday, or Sunday, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So.
And then when you're not watching us or Croncy, you're watching Paul.
Yeah. Twitch.tv/theastropub. Come join us live on Saturdays, but I'm also streaming obviously on Thursdays and Fridays, Saturdays and Sundays, so you can always join us as well here.
So in other words, what we're saying is there's a content creator streaming every day of the week just for your pleasure.
Get all of our nice takes as we're hanging out. So
that's right.
Right, and like I say every time, hope to see you someday in the black.